to Land and Property Focus, which is a show that is going to help us to learn, discuss, and be empowered when it comes to land and property issues in Ghana. I would like you to share our page on Facebook and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can also send us an email at info@landpropertyfocus.com and tell us if you have any questions or any inquiries which you'd want us to look into for you. Today, this show is to cover one of the topics or one of the items that came out of our initial show, which was titled, "What Land Can You Buy?" This is going to discuss land as pertains to the government and then also vested lands. Because when we had the first program, we discussed the fact that if you wanted to buy land, the safest to buy were the government ones or the vested ones, because they had already been registered and you were going through the formal government system. And just like investments, the most secure are the ones with the government as opposed to being with private individuals. So today we have a very distinguished gentleman who has been in the land and property sector for a couple of years, and he is going to help us explain and to go into government land and vested land. His name is Mr. Stephen Mawuli Kweku, who works for the Valuation Division of the Lands Commission. Welcome, Mr. Kweku.
Thank you, Nana.
Thank you very much for joining us today. So, can you tell us a bit about the Lands Commission's role, specifically as relates to managing government land?
Thank you. Yeah, specifically, Lands Commission was set up by an Act of Parliament to manage and do other related issues concerning land in Ghana. The act that specifically established Lands Commission is at 767. And within the Lands Commission, we have 4 divisions. The Land Valuation, PVLMD, and then we have...
and what is the PVLMD?
Yeah, that is Public Vested and Land Management Division of Lands Commission. And then we have Survey and Mapping Division.
Okay.
And then we have the Land Title Registration Division of Lands Commission. So basically, these 4 divisions have been stacked to actually manage and register lands in Ghana.
Okay.
Now, Lands Commission basically looks at government land, manages public lands, and then that of vested lands.
Yeah.
Now, if you take Ghana, for instance, we have different types of landholding rights.
Yeah.
We have family lands, we have public lands, and then we have vested lands. The public lands forms about 75 to 78%, whereas government is about 20 to 22%, and then the vested land is about 2%. So basically, government lands are managed by Lands Commission. Yeah. So in terms of granting it to individuals, companies, it is done by Lands Commission.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to compensation issues, it is a land valuation that determines the compensation payable to individuals whose properties are affected.
Okay.
And then survey and mapping, basically they do the plans relating to specific areas of land for acquisition.
Yeah.
So basically, you realize that it is the PVLMD which is responsible for acquisition of land in relation with the other relevant bodies. Now, land title registration registers the various interests that are given to individuals and companies. Yeah. So all that Lands Commission does is they secured your interest in land. But Lands Commission doesn't give you interest in land, except that of state land
State lands. Okay.
and vested land.
Okay.
But for the individual lands or family lands, you get it from the Alodia title owners. But all that Lands Commission will do is to register and secure that one for you. That is the state guaranteeing that title for you. Yes. So basically, that's
how did government come by? And I don't expect you to cover all the histories of it, but how normally does government come by land? The lands, for instance, you've got your lands in cantonments, in Rage, and all those, or in Kumasi, Denyame, and all those government lands. How does government, or how did the government come by those lands?
Yeah, government came by those lands through compulsory acquisition.
Okay.
You know, the Constitution gives the power to the state, that is to the president, to acquire any land for public use, so to do, in the interest of the public. So all those lands were acquired through executive instruments, which vested the land or which puts the land in the name of the state. However, what the president does is to manage it on behalf of the people. And the Lands Commission has been mandated to manage that on behalf of the president. So what Lands Commission normally does is to give grants to people and regulate the use of such lands.
Of the land.
Yes.
So what is the normal practice? How many are they? Does the government give freehold? Does the government give leasehold? What are the terms or the arrangements that normally go for these government lands?
Yeah. In fact, in the past, they were giving leases of about 99 years, and some areas even freehold. But in recent times, they have now limited it to 50-year grant.
50 years.
Yes. So you are given a 50-year lease. With 50 years.
So I guess the 50 years is just the same as a non-citizen would be able to obtain.
Yes.
So we're pretty much at the same level with a non-citizen.
Yes, yes.
So I have, assuming that I have a lease, or a government lease, and I have it for use for for a vocational institution. Maybe I wanted to build a catering school or something, and I had it, and the 50 years has got 5 years to expire. What is the process to get it renewed? And is there a right to, what's the process to get it renewed?
Yeah, if the lease is expiring, maybe you have about 5 years to go, as you have already said. All that you need to do is to apply to Lands Commission for renewal of your lease. So you go through a process. Valuation will have to be done to know the value of the property, the development that have been done on the land. Now you pay a percentage of that as premium for a renewal of the lease for you for a further 50 years. Yes.
So is there an arithmetic calculation, and I don't want to put you on the spot here, but for instance, if you value it and it comes up to 100,000 Ghana cedis, what would be the rough ballpark of a premium you pay to renew it?
For now, I'm not too sure about the premium as it is, but I know it used to be 3% for individuals, and then 7% for companies of the value of the property. Yes.
All right. So is there a right to renewal? You know, if a government lease comes to an end, can I get to Lands Commission and say, I want it renewed, and Lands Commission is bound to actually renew it?
Yes. Once you have done development on the land, yes, Lands Commission is bound to renew it for you, unless if you fail to fulfill the conditions that are in the document, the lease document, like the covenant. If you are not paying your rent and everything, then that one, the Lands Commission deserves the right to take it away from you because of non-performance of the covenant.
So what happens? Playing devil's advocate here. Does the Lands Commission collect the rent? Because if there are two ways. You know, I owe the rent, but if you don't come for it, would you then use it to penalize me?
Well, normally Lands Commission will serve you with rent demand notice. Yes. But if we are not able to do that, the responsibility is on you as a lessee to also walk in and then demand that they give you your demand that you pay
it's like going to demand that you pay taxes.
Yes.
I don't know how many would do that, but I do understand what you're saying.
Yes.
So, so generally, government lands are available for leases. They have been acquired primarily under CPOs, for government use and for the use of the public. I think in times past there have been issues with government lands which were acquired for specific purposes and not being used, and therefore they had to be reversed and all that. So I presume that there is a regime around that. If the government acquires a land for the purposes of a school, then perhaps they might not be able to then use it for a hotel unless there is a conversation with the landowners. Okay, so as well, if the government no longer requires a piece of land, are they under any obligation to return it to the owners?
Yes. If the purpose of which it was acquired has been defeated, let me put it that way, so to say, then what is left to be done is the original landowners are given the first option of purchase. Yes, but what government normally does is probably they re-enter into different negotiations with the landowners. And then they decide what to do with it. Either they give portion back to the landowners and the government keeps a portion to itself. Botema lands, for instance, it's happened that they have to return portion back to the landowners. And then the Labadi light industrial area around AU village is also being done same.
Which is understandable because obviously once the government takes the land, the government then builds the infrastructure that improves the value of the land, that makes the land a bit more marketable with all the roads and the infrastructure that goes with it. So it is only reasonable that they would also have a share in the uplift of the value of the land. So that's
exactly so.
So moving on to vested lands. I am aware that the new Land Act is proposing a new scheme on how to manage that, and we'll go into that. But what are vested lands?
Well, vested lands are lands that belongs to stools and skins. And then so they are vested in government for the government to manage it on their behalf. They can lease it out, take rent on their behalf, and then they have a formula for distributing the rent that comes out of it. So basically, the vested lands are just lands that are managed on behalf of the stool. So the revenue that is generated are now distributed among the stool. Yes.
So are stools which own vested lands normally aware that their lands have been vested? I ask this question because I have been brought a scenario where somebody has acquired land in Dawenya and apparently paid for it entirely. And then they went to the Lands Commission only to find out that the land is vested. Now, I guess, due diligence would have required that you do your searches before you buy. But in this case, it wasn't done. And I presume if the chiefs sold them that land, then they themselves might not have been aware that the land is vested. So how is this managed? Are the owners aware? Is there a database where people can check for vested lands being available or not available?
Yes. Vested lands, the owners are aware. Most of the time they are aware that their lands have been vested in government. And there are a couple of times that people don't even know that their lands have been vested. The Dawenya issue that you raised up to Ningo area. Yes. Some portion have been vested in the government, but the chiefs and people are not aware. And such lands are not even stool land. Some are family lands, which they are not aware that they've been vested in the government, in the state to manage it for them. So if you have a piece of land, what you need to do is to come to Lands Commission conduct a search. The search that you are supposed to conduct should cover the 3 divisions. That is PVLMD, SMD, and land title registration. So you conduct a search in these 3 areas, and then you get a professional advice to look at the searches, the records, and advise you as to exactly the status of the land.
Yeah.
Whether it's a vested land or a family land or whatever the issues may be.
Yeah.
So it is important that once you get a piece of land, the first thing you do before you buy, you have to come and conduct a search at the Lands Commission.
So devil's advocate again, playing devil's advocate here. I buy a piece of land. I have been negligent. I didn't search to make sure that it was not vested. And now I find out that it's vested land. Do I lose the land I've bought, or there is some room to maybe come to Lands Commission and have a conversation and see if there can be a settlement?
Yes, actually, there's a room for you because you've bought it already, and the very land was sold to you by the actual owners of the land.
Yeah.
So what you do, once you find out that it is vested in the state, what you do is to approach Lands Commission and then have conversation with them, because under the law, they can lease it to you.
Yeah.
The vested land can be leased to you. So once you have conversation with them, once they don't have any specific use for it, then if everything is okay, then they can lease it to you for you to start paying the ground rent and the necessary things that's supposed to be done to Lands Commission.
Okay. So assuming that because we know it is safe to either buy government land or vested land, I am interested in buying government land. Where do I start? Do I have to know a guy in the room, or, how does it work?
Well, if you identify any government land that is being sold, the first thing you have to do is to ask for the site plan.
Okay.
And then you come back to same Lands Commission and conduct a search.
Okay.
If the search proves that it is government land, that is fine. Or if the government land that is acquired at a particular area is being sold by the state, by Lands Commission, what you do is you apply to the Lands Commission that yes, so and so, I've noticed you are selling this piece of land and I am interested in acquiring a portion of it. So you apply directly to the Lands Commission.
Okay.
They will look at it, discuss it, and then if everything goes on well, they give you the document, the lease document. Okay. So you are giving allocation letter and the rest.
And you follow through.
True.
So it doesn't happen that the Lands Commission offers land, for instance, from time to time to say, we've got lands in Boteman, or we've got lands in Ahafo, which we are selling, or we've got lands. Does it happen like that? Because from this program, it's most likely people will be making the inquiries, knowing very well that those are safe. So should you first identify land which is being sold, or can I walk to Lands Commission and say, I want to know if you've got any government lands for sale, or I want to know if you've got some vested lands for sale?
Yeah, both ways.
Okay.
You can walk in, or if you get wind of anything that is going on like that, you can inquire and then you apply. But basically, you need to be coming to the office to ask if there's any government land that is being sold. Yes.
Okay. So, as you may be aware, the Land Act is now in force, and in relation to vested land, it seems to make the provision for the return of these vested lands to their owners. So the question that has been put to me by one of our listeners is, what really happens if I own a vested land, because it's vested land, the Lands Commission was my landlord, and at this point is being taken back to, Nana Kwesi Mensah or Nena Mugi, who is now the owner of that land. How would that relationship work?
Yeah, this should be a matter of policy
Okay.
by the Lands Commission. Definitely, once there's proposal that the land be given back to the owners, yeah, it's just a matter of giving it back to them for the stool to manage.
Yeah.
And then some of the families whose land have been vested to manage it. But for those ones, there should be a policy direction from the Lands Commission.
Yes. Okay. So we should expect something that should come from the Lands Commission to actually guide us on how those things, what the transition is going to be.
Yeah, I believe, hopefully so. I believe so.
You know, also soon we are coming to the end of our program. Do you have anything to add generally as a matter of advice in terms of government land, invested land? You know, are there any examples of problems which you think people have had, and advice that you give them which would stop them from getting into such problematic positions?
Yeah. Well, generally, government land is the best to buy because it is secured. But however, we still have some challenges, especially with the management of our records. You could do a search, it's showing a different person's name, but then when you go to the other side, it is also in a different person's name. The bottom line is, once you get a piece of land, be it government or an individual land or family land, yours is to do a search. The searches will actually prove whether the land is free from all encumbrances or something. And then the professional advice will be given to you. You always need a professional advice if you want to buy land. Even in buying land, it is not just a matter of just doing the search at Lands Commission. Go beyond the searches at Lands Commission. Go to the ground. Ask neighbors who owns this particular piece of land. Somebody may be having a land title certificate, but then the person finds it difficult to get to the land because of the issues that are surrounding the property, which Lands Commission might not be aware of. All that we did was to just examine the document, and once it met every requirement, the land title certificate is issued. However, the responsibility is on you as a lessee or as a buyer to make sure you do all the searches on the ground, the background search on the property before you go ahead. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kweku, for joining us today and for educating us on government lands and vested lands, which, you know, as we discussed in the first program of this show, is one of the most secure to buy because of the peculiar nature of land transactions in Ghana. So I guess for those of you watching, you've heard Mr. Kweku, and he's told us about government lands, how they are acquired through CPO, how they are managed by the Lands Commission, and also we have talked about vested lands and the interrelationship it has with the traditional authorities, the stools and the skins. It's of good education to all of us to know what these are, so that when we do approach them, then we are able to actually make intelligent choices. It is very important that when you're dealing with government land or vested land, you go to the Lands Commission so that you have from the source the background to these properties. Land and Property Focus would keep bringing you such informative programs so that we can discuss, we can all learn and be empowered. As I said at the beginning of the show, please do share on our Facebook page and share this video, as well as join us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much for watching this show.